to the 2025 William L. Winston Award Luncheon honoring Senator Barbara A. Favola. I am Courtney McCarthy. I'm the president of the foundation, and as a reminder, I'd ask everybody to please turn your cell phones off. I'm not a judge, so I'm not going to take your phones if they go off, but there are plenty of judges here who might. At this time, I'd ask that you please stand for the presentation of colors by the Sheriff's Office Honor Guard, and then join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
Detail, stand by, colors. Attention, right shoulder, arms. Ready, cut. Forward, march. Ready, halt. Present, arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right shoulder, arm. Right face. Forward, march.
I'd ask that you please remain standing for the invocation will be given by the Honorable David A. Bell, former clerk of the Arlington County Circuit Court. No, I don't want it. I'd rather you use the stairs.
Well, before I give the invocation, let me just say, has to be a great comfort to gather like this in a time when there appears to be so much endless division in our country. And a time like this, gather in fellowship has to be a relief. I'm going to put on these glasses. And for those of you that know, it's got to remind you of somebody who I'm missing today. It was almost 1 year ago to the day that we lost Bus Garnett, and he meant so much to this foundation, to this very event, and to this building. I just wanted to mention his name. Lord, we ask your blessings upon this gathering of those who seek justice as a vocation, and public servants, past and present, and all those we carry with us in our hearts. We ask your presence as we honor the memory of our friend and mentor, William L. Winston, by honoring the lifetime of public service of Senator Barbara Favola. We ask your special blessings upon her and her family for time she has spent on behalf of our county, our Commonwealth, and our nation. as we gather together in this beautiful place, we ask that we remember that not all are so fortunate. And finally, Lord, we ask you to bless this food to our bodies and us to thy service, and let us be forever mindful of the needs of others. Amen.
Imagine your grade school teacher restraining or locking you in this room because they did not understand your disability.
This was something that I experienced in schools, and this is ultimately why my family approached Senator Favola as being an expert on child welfare.
My name is Alex Campbell. I am 11 years old, and I have autism.
Barbara Favola brought then young Alex and so many children with autism story to Virginia lawmakers, who then passed landmark protections against isolation and restraint.
Students with autism and other disabilities are now able to have more independence over their lives and choices at school, and it puts the control back in the hands of students.
Here in Arlington, Doorways struggled with federal domestic violence funding cuts until Barbara stepped in.
So thanks to her, every survivor across Virginia has access to shelter, to hotline, critical services that are really between life and death.
Disputing health insurance company denials is often impossible, but when her constituents hit roadblocks, Senator Favola cleared the way.
I reached out to her about having to pay money for my birth control, which is supposed to be free under federal law. She just immediately jumped into action and made a bunch of calls to very important people to make sure that I didn't have to do that anymore, and also worked with me after that to make sure that other people who didn't have a connection to her would be able to benefit.
Barbara Favola's work has enriched millions of lives across the state, including children with mental health issues who once overwhelmed the medical system.
Before, I had to refer this patient and they wouldn't be able to get care for 6 months, perhaps, trying to find therapists and psychiatrists. Senator Favola has been an incredible advocate for getting children care when they need it. And so with the programs like the Virginia Mental Health Access Program, now kids can get care within 30 minutes of seeing their pediatrician or family physician.
And the senator's advocacy extends to Virginia's more than 5,000 foster children, many often abandoned by the state when they're no longer a teen.
Senator Favola has been involved with CASA for a long time, and she passed the law requiring Virginia to participate in the Federal Fostering Futures Program, which is really important because it ensures that youth who turn 18 in foster care are allowed to receive services up until they turn 21. So they still get support and they're not kicked out at age 18.
And Barbara knows firsthand the challenge of helping children with learning disabilities and making sure they are embraced by the entire school. She helped Arlington Public Schools improve the individual educational plans to ensure every child realizes their right to a free and appropriate public education. That advocacy for her own child encouraged her to run for public office. From Arlington County's board, helping create affordable housing, protecting the environment, encouraging energy-efficient buildings, to the State House and passing a law that ended surprise medical billing, Barbara is there helping all Virginians.
It's so lovely to meet somebody that's so passionate about a cause that's obviously near and dear to my heart as well.
And she's a consensus builder. She's willing to work with others when possible, especially those who don't agree with her, but at the same hand, she's not willing to compromise her values or her character.
She's a really good advocate for reproductive rights and for young women.
When I think of Barbara Favola, I think of her consistency, not shying away for talking and doing the right thing, even when it's hard.
Senator Favola is an incredible role model for anyone who's an advocate, and especially if you're a legislator. Learning how to listen to people, how to meet them where they are. Any legislator would do well by following Senator Favola's example.
Please welcome the Honorable Paul Ferguson.
Thank you, Courtney, and for the great job you're doing as our president for the year and with this luncheon. A couple of special thank yous. That video was incredible, and it would not have been possible without Mark Cummings. Thanks, Mark, for making that a reality. And there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that goes into this luncheon. Alyssa Belanger, year after year from the Bar Foundation, does the organizing for us, so special thanks to Alyssa, wherever she is. And just a note of personal privilege, the Virginia State Bar President, Brett Marston, is here. He is a law school classmate from George Mason Law School and a good friend, and he drove a long ways to be with us today. His wife, Colleen Marston, is also with him. Colleen is the best realtor in the Smith Mountain Lake area. She helped my wife, Karen Kais, who is sitting over there, get a vacation home a few years ago that we've been greatly enjoying. And I also would be remiss if I didn't introduce the Chief Deputy of the Circuit Court Clerk's Office, Christina Dietrich, who's next to Karen. Barbara Favola and I have worked together in Arlington County's government since the year 1997. During that time, we developed a strong working relationship and a close friendship. I was looking back at really and thinking about our working relationship and friendship, and I thought of it almost as a big sister, little brother type of relationship in some ways. Like many big sisters, Barbara is smart, she does her homework, she can be very helpful, but like some big sisters, she's a little bit impatient with you at times. She, when I served together with her on the county board, if I was a little bit too slow in getting my thoughts out or whatever I was doing, she would often finish my sentences for me to try to help me out, even at the public meetings. She was a budget wizard. All of her priorities always succeeded. She was very successful in the areas of education funding, affordable housing funding. As we saw in the video, she took special pride in what she did for those that had disabilities and developmental disabilities. She was able to institute a program that focused on taking the student to adulthood and making sure that families had the resources for their children even as they got to be adults. She initiated a program called Project Peace, which involved our legal system and law enforcement that is still active today. I see the sheriff nodding. But she, through her collaborative attempts, got the judicial system, law enforcement, Department of Human Services, all meeting together on the same page, and that is a legacy. In looking back on our years together, Barbara was the only woman on the board with 4 guys for all 10 years that I served with her, and I never thought of anything of it during the time, but I'm reading Malcolm Gladwell's Revenge of the Tipping Point now that some of you might have read or are reading, and talks about the difficulty when there isn't critical mass. So although she didn't complain about it at the time, I know it presented some challenges. People used to comment on her colorful outfits and that she was seen or not seen, and I thought, well, no one ever was commenting on my outfits. And those of you that know me know I'm not the best dressed guy, so that's probably the reason. But I didn't have those same challenges that she had working together during those 10 years. After Barbara got a master's in public policy, she came to Washington for the Presidential Management Intern Program. And it was significant because her husband, Doug, was also in that program. Well, they weren't married at the time, but they met. And they embarked on careers in federal government. It's a very competitive program designed for the best and the brightest to be managers in our government. I know it was a competitive program because I applied for it and was rejected. if I had only known Barbara at the time, I know she would have helped me with my application and she would have made sure that I was accepted. But that didn't go my way then. So after she became a high-level government employee, she developed, an interest in the Arlington community, volunteering in various organizations that she now helps through her job as a state senator. But she also became active politically in a group called Arlingtonians for a Better County. And this was designed to allow federal employees who are prohibited from participating in politics because of the Hatch Act to be involved politically. This was an organization that Ellen Bosman, who has our county building named after her, she was endorsed by this group known as ABC for short, without running as a Democrat. And so she successfully won with that for years. Mary Margaret Whipple was also involved in the group, although she always ran as a Democrat. But I think, one of the highest praises I can give for Barbara is she was considered at that time and today a protege of Ellen Bosman and Mary Margaret Whipple, and also Karen Darner. And those are the three of the greatest leaders that Arlington has had. And she's continuing to live up to those expectations. I talked about Barbara being a little bit impatient at times and sort of teasing her about that, but I really think it's one of your best qualities and what makes you successful as a legislator. When you look at some of what she's accomplished in the area of domestic violence, there has to be an urgency to you coming to the table to try to do things as she did in 2021, successfully getting a bill passed that prohibits the possession of a firearm for those that have been convicted of assault and battery on a family member. And I know you'll be adding to that bill in the next year. We're giving this award to Barbara Favola today for all of her past accomplishments on the Arlington County Board and the State Senate. But one thing I want to make clear, and this is a prediction that I'm sure is going to come true. In the next few years ahead, she is going to accomplish more in the State Senate, pass more bills than she has in her entire career. This is going to be just really the highlights of her career have yet to come. I've watched her down in Richmond. Not only does she have great policy skills, but she has great contacts, and things really are coming together now. When you talk about being a little bit impatient, you never know when you're going to have the budget or the fundings to get things passed. You never know when you're going to have the votes to get things passed. Barbara now has a friend in the governor's office, or will have. She's got a friend in the lieutenant governor's office. She's got a majority in the state senate and in the House. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what she's able to accomplish in the years ahead. Thanks for what you've done for us in the past, and thanks in advance for what you're going to accomplish for us in the future.
Our next speaker is Darcy Hubbard. Ms. Hubbard has served as the Executive Director of Fairfax Court-Appointed Special Advocates for the past 11 years. For those who are unfamiliar with this organization, CASA is a nonprofit dedicated to advocating for the best interests of children involved in the court system. CASA volunteers are court-appointed to abuse and neglect cases where they work closely with children, their families, and other stakeholders to advocate for the needs of abused and neglected children in the courtroom throughout the child welfare system and beyond. Ms. Hubbard first met our honorary Senator Favola when Senator Favola joined the board of directors of Fairfax CASA. A lawyer by training, Ms. Hubbard has worked in both the public sector and nonprofit organizations throughout her career. Originally from Massachusetts, she earned her undergraduate degree from UMass Amherst and her JD from the University of Maryland. Please welcome Darcy Hubbard.
Good afternoon. It is a pleasure to be here today to celebrate someone that I admire so deeply, Senator Favola. As Courtney mentioned, Senator Favola and I first met over lunch 10 years ago, and I was immediately drawn to her warmth, optimism, and passion. Her laugh was infectious, her smile was welcoming, and her attitude was one of, we can do this. We immediately invited her to join the Fairfax Castle Board, and it turned out to be one of the best decisions we ever made. For over a decade, Senator Favola brought her wisdom, her sense of humor, and her unwavering commitment to children and families to every discussion around our table. She has always made me feel valued, appreciated, and heard. She has listened to the concerns of the CASA programs and used that information to champion bills that change lives. Senator Favola cares deeply about the people of Virginia, and her advocacy and work on behalf of women, children, and families is respected on both sides of the aisle. Last week, I had the pleasure of chatting with former Senator Emmett Hanger, who absolutely lit up when I mentioned what I was going to be doing today. He spoke so highly of her and reinforced that she works not just for her constituents, but for all of Virginia. As chair of the Senate Rehabilitation and Social Services Committee and a longtime member and current chair of the Virginia Commission on Youth, Senator Favola has been a driving force for meaningful reform in the child welfare and juvenile justice systems. She has fought for funding for diversion programs, more effective rehabilitation and detention, and stronger follow-up for youth after placement, always guided by her belief that every young person deserves a chance to thrive. When Senator Favola joined our board, we spent a great deal of time talking about what happens to youth who age out of foster care. What happens to those who turn 18 without a family or a safety net? Senator Favola didn't just listen, she took action. In 2016, she ensured that Fostering Futures was implemented through a budget amendment, and then in 2020, she patroned the landmark legislation that codified Fostering Futures here in Virginia, ensuring that foster youth could continue to receive support, housing, and educational opportunities until age 21. We were all 18 years old once, and many of us have children that are 18 or older, and I think we can agree that it is a rarity to have it all figured out at 18 and to be fully self-sufficient. But our laws cite 18 as the defining moment in a child's life. And most of us were lucky enough to have parents or family members to guide us and lift us up when we tripped and fell. But the kids that I serve do not. And I could share many sad stories from my 11 years as the executive director with Fairfax CASA. But when it comes to Fostering Futures, I have nothing but stories of success, security, and stability. This program is transformative and truly life-changing. I've seen it firsthand. Young people who might otherwise have faced homelessness or instability instead have had the time and resources to earn degrees, secure jobs, and build independence. We currently have a young man attending an extremely prestigious college in New England because of Fostering Futures. We've watched multiple young mothers enrolled in Fostering Futures earn their diplomas and continue their education because they had access to childcare and a roof over their heads, allowing them to earn a living wage and break the cycle of poverty and neglect as they tackle single parenthood. Because of Fostering Futures, our CASAs have been able to remain formally involved in the lives of the older youth that we serve, providing a reliable adult to lean on as they navigate the complexities of transitioning to adulthood. From college applications to job applications to practicing interviewing skills, moving into an apartment or purchasing a first vehicle, our young people now have a steady, supportive presence during milestones that they would have otherwise faced alone. Senator Favola's leadership made this possible, and her commitment extends far beyond one bill or one session. She has strengthened funding for child advocacy centers to protect children who've experienced sexual abuse, and most recently, she led the passage of Virginia's kinship care law, which allows children who cannot safely remain at home to stay with relatives or family friends instead of entering foster care. I cannot emphasize enough how important this is. Just this week, I was thrilled to watch a video of an aunt and uncle who have taken in three nieces and a nephew, and they offered them a safe place to land in security. These 4 children started their journey in 3 separate foster homes. But thanks to the kinship program that's now available, they're with their own family in a loving home together. These changes don't just reform systems, they change outcomes and they change lives. It is no exaggeration to say that Senator Favola has invested her time, her energy, and her heart into the children and families of Virginia, and we are now witnessing the dividends of her investment. The William L. Winston Award is the highest award bestowed by the Arlington County Bar Foundation, recognizing a lifetime of public service and dedication to the principles of enlightenment, justice, and the rule of law. And I can think of no one who embodies its ideals more fully than Senator Favola. Senator Favola, your leadership has advanced not only the law, but the spirit of the law, ensuring that compassion and equity remain at its core. Your tireless efforts have provided our youth, our most deserving youth, with a ladder of opportunity and stability. On behalf of Fairfax CASA and on behalf of the many children and families whose futures are brighter because of you and your work, thank you and congratulations.
And our last speaker is Senator Ghazala Hashmi. Senator Hashmi was born in India and immigrated to the United States at the age of 4. After earning her BA in English from Georgia Southern University and her PhD in English from Emory University, Senator Hashmi and her husband relocated to the Richmond area, where she spent nearly 30 years as a professor. Senator Hashmi has served in the Virginia State Senate since 2020, currently representing the 15th Senate District, which covers an area south of Richmond. She made history as the first Muslim and first South Asian American to serve in the Virginia Senate and currently chairs the Senate Education and Health Committee. And as I mentioned earlier, she's also the Lieutenant Governor-elect for the Commonwealth of Virginia and will assume office on January 17th of 2026.
Good afternoon. I am so delighted to join you and the Arlington County Bar Foundation in honoring our friend and my esteemed colleague, Senator Barbara Favola. It's especially fitting that we honor Senator Favola with the William L. Winston Award, the highest award presented by the Arlington County Bar Foundation. Senator Favola's lifetime of public service and leadership serves as an example and as a model for each of us. Her service has been and continues to be a reflection of dedication, determination, and pure grit. I call it grit, not stubbornness or something, impatience, the pure grit. With so many challenges that we face these days, such leadership at the state level is even more vital now than it has been ever before. I am proud to call Senator Favola not just a colleague in the Senate, but also a good friend. Over the past 6 years, I have watched her navigate both the politics and the policies of difficult conversations, whether it's in our caucus or in our Senate chamber, across the aisle, and with numerous advocacy groups and many other organizations. Today, I just want to highlight some of the work that she has dedicated her public service to, and that is working on behalf of Virginia's women, whether it's fighting for reproductive rights and healthcare justice, or for the economic equity for all. Senator Favola chaired the Senate Women's Healthcare Caucus and was recognized in 2024 by Repro Rising for her efforts to protect menstrual health data from law enforcement. Now, some of you may recall how in 2023, Governor Youngkin mandated that his House members defeat a particular bill that Barbara was carrying. What did that special legislation do? It simply said It simply said that if women and girls track their monthly cycles on our phone or through an app, that this very private, this very extremely personal information could not be subpoenaed. And a spokesperson from the administration actually appeared in the House committee and testified against this fundamental common sense bill. They argued that law enforcement, in fact, and the courts had a right to demand the release of such very private and sensitive information. That was appalling. But we know Senator Favola. She has the grit, she's got the stubbornness, she doesn't give up. And this common sense bill gained national attention and notoriety. Then President Biden commented on the bill in a press statement on the value of personal autonomy. And most delightful of all was our late night comedian, Stephen Colbert, who also highlighted Barbara's legislation. And so Senator Favola brought the bill back. And then the following year, Governor Youngkin actually signed an expanded version of that legislation into law. So congratulations to Barbara on her tenacity. And in 2024, when I was honored to be named as chair of Senate Education and Health, I asked Senator Favola to chair the Health Subcommittee. I could always trust that the bills from her subcommittee were well vetted, well presented to the full committee, and always ready for the next legislative steps. And in addition to her leadership, Senator Favola has passed numerous bills to make healthcare more affordable, accessible, and to improve the transparency of our healthcare system. Her tenacity is highlighted in one particular piece of legislation. After 15 years of attempts to pass a bill to outlaw surprise medical billing, Senator Favola successfully passed that legislation, and it was signed into law and has become a model for national legislation. So as we honor Senator Favola today, we honor decades of public service, achievement, and devotion to the communities that she represents and to the Commonwealth for which she fights every day. Barbara, I'm so tremendously honored to be your colleague. I'm especially honored by your gift of friendship. Congratulations on this very well-deserved recognition.
This award we used to have, he's now passed, but Ken Smith, who was quite a fundraiser. If you're ever on Glebe Road on the other side of Route 50, there's a Salvation Army building. It looks brand new. He was the architect of getting the funds to build that Salvation Army. He was very active in Baptist funds as well. Got this foundation off the ground. Really put us into the stratosphere. He called this award the Cadillac of awards. And
I only drive a Toyota.
Well, you've got a Cadillac now.
Corolla.
So I hope you enjoyed over the years. I don't think you mentioned it has a sketch of the first monument to George Washington, which is Arlington House, which is a limited edition print on the top. On the diploma itself, the Arlington County Bar Foundation. Can you hear me in the back? Yes, I can do that. Is that better? Yes. All right. The Arlington County Bar Foundation know all persons that Senator Barbara Favola is hereby awarded the 35th Annual William L. Winston Award in grateful recognition of her long-standing public service to the Arlington community, the Commonwealth of Virginia, and the nation, and for unwavering advocacy for improving access to health care, expanding mental health services, supporting foster youth, expanding affordable housing, and for the faithful advancement of democratic ideals, social justice, and the rule of law, done in the county of Arlington, Virginia, this 18th day of November, 2025. by order of the Board of Directors of the Arlington County Bar Foundation, signed by Courtney McCarthy and Robert Gray. The podium is yours.
It's a true honor.
Oh,
Okay.
right here?
Is that okay?
We can take some photos after.
We'll take
Yeah,
photos
let's
after.
let her speak. She's been waiting.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I have to say, I am truly, truly honored by the Arlington Bar Foundation Award, the Winston Award. Many of you know I am not an attorney, so this was a special surprise to me. But I am so glad to know in my heart, and now you have reaffirmed it in practice, that our attorneys are thinking of our entire community, the entire justice system, when they really embrace their job in keeping us on track and balancing the rights of our Constitution with the need to achieve accountability. I will say, though, that as a lawmaker, I try to focus on ways that enable those living on the fringes of society to gain more opportunity to control their destinies. I often think when I'm in our Senate chamber and when I'm on the floor that Hubert Humphrey's words really are meaningful. And many of you may remember them, but I'll remind you. His quote was, "The moral test of government is how government treats those who are in the dawn of life, the children, those who are in the twilight of life, the elderly, and those who are in the shadows of life, the sick, the needy, and persons with disabilities." I know that each one of you, every day, probably sees a youth that made some bad decisions, or an offender who stole because it was easier to steal than break through the class-based barriers to success, or a drug addict who broke the law mainly to feed a habit because the reality was too difficult. Yet, each one of you makes judgments about what is best for society and what can turn things around for the subject individual. I admire you, and I respect the intelligence and grit it takes for you to do your jobs. I'm sure that the words of Frederick Douglass come to mind on a daily basis. It is easier to build strong children than repair broken men. But I know that we are going to make progress in building stronger children. I want to thank everybody in this room, but the attorneys and the prosecutors, public defenders, judges, administrative staff, and all who help our judicial system work. You are truly awesome. And, by the way, you are truly appreciated. So thank you very, very much. And I do want to thank my family and friends who came. Some traveled from way down in Richmond, you know. Brett, thank you for the long trip. My Senator Whipple, my predecessor, so many in this room. I think we have worked together on very important issues. You're all very passionate. I'm proud that you have those progressive values that I think make such a big difference in how we approach life and how we approach the important jobs we all have to do. Thank you so very, very much.